So I was just going to talk about the process for requesting a reconsideration of material. And all of this information is actually available on the website. In the collection development policy, there's a lot of different information. It talks about the process we go through to select materials, that all of the acquisitions, for instance, are evaluated using standard library review source. We have a long list of different things that we consider when we're considering an item. And say, for instance, it says collection management includes assessment of community needs, establishment of policy and budget to support those needs, the selection, acquisition, and promotion of materials, and evaluation of the collection and its effectiveness. All of these things are considered, of course, for each item, and some items are selected because they are just for fun. Some items are more serious. There's a lot of different selectors involved, and the presence of an item in the library does not indicate an endorsement of its content by the library. Library materials are not marked or identified to show approval or disapproval of the contents, and access is not restricted beyond what is required to protect materials from theft or damage. The standards stated in this policy apply equally to all materials for children. The library believes that individuals may reject for themselves and their children, and only for their children, materials which they find unsuitable. Caregivers who wish to limit or restrict the use of the library by their children should personally oversee their selections. Then in the process of, let's see, submitting a request for reconsideration, again, the form is on the website, and you just go to the website. You can download the form, you can fill it out, and you bring it into a location. It's important that people bring in these forms in person, because in our day and age, we could have people requesting that articles be reconsidered, and they could be from outside of Anchorage, they could be outside of the state, they could be outside of the country. And we don't have the time or resources to look at each form and try and figure out if it has been submitted in good faith or if it's part of, a spam situation. So it's very important that somebody come in and personally give it to us, because we serve Anchorage and we serve the interests of Anchorage. When a form is submitted, then first it is evaluated by our collection management coordinator, and that person takes into consideration all the different factors. We also normally have a committee that is involved, and that committee has we don't have as much of a committee right now, fell by the wayside a little bit during COVID, but we are going to bring that committee back, and so we will have, not only will this collection banner coordinator be part of the committee, but we'll have a group of people that are considering that. Then they will make a consideration, and they will get back to the person who has submitted this form within 14 days. At that time, that individual then has another 14 days if they wish to appeal. If they appeal, they send their appeal to the library director, who's me, and I will evaluate the decision and their request for appeal. I have 14 days to get back to them. I will send my decision back to them. Then at that point, if they still feel that more consideration should be given to their request, then they can submit this to the Library Advisory Board. The Library Advisory Board, and they have to do this within 14 days, Library Advisory Board then will look over the request, and the Library Advisory Board has 14 days to get back to the individual. And that is the final decision.
Thank you for your presentation, Virginia. So my question is, what if a book goes against municipal code or state statute? For instance, AS 11.41.455A. Or MUNI 8.50.010.A. It's pretty clear to me that we may have resources there that are breaking the law or code as a library advisory board member, I would like to have the specific book that we're talking about looked at by legal, because I do believe that we are breaking code personally, but I'm not an attorney. And I would think it would be wise to get some clarification on that before, we talk about the process for repealing or accepting, pieces in our collection. I just would personally like to have legal look at the particular book that we're talking about. And that's the book titled Let's Talk About It. And I personally believe that we're breaking statutes and codes. And I'm unclear, is that book currently in our collection? Is it available now? And who is that available to?
It is in the collection. It's in several collections around the state.
I know that book has been highly contested across the country. So I'd just like to formally request that legal take a peek at that and get their 2 cents, please.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Doug.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'd like to make a formal request to have the book titled Let's Talk About It reviewed by legal. So I'd like to make a formal movement for that. If I could get a second on that, I would appreciate it.
I'll second.
Well, normally, I believe that what we should do is go through the request for consideration process, and so that would be,
Why can't the lawyer look at it?
well, the lawyer can look at it, but we still go through this process.
Why don't we do both?
And I don't know what the lawyer would do with the book as it stands right now, because they would just be looking at the city codes and the state codes, and they would look at the book. So there's 2 different processes here, and when I talk about getting legal involved, I would refer, if somebody had a request for reconsideration based on those points, I would then go to the city attorney and say, these points have been raised. So if we want to go through that process, and if you want to fill out the form, that would be great. Because it's part of our policy, and they're going to ask me about the policy, and the policy was set by this organization.
Virginia, can I invite you to read the code and maybe reconsider that position?
Sure, I will look up the code.
I'd appreciate that, thank you. I know that's the formal request was to have legal look at the code and decide whether or not that particular piece of literature is breaking the law or not. I mean, I just like a legal opinion on it. I don't see how going through the formal process of whether or not we should have considered that book and in the current collection that's in is the appropriate place for it. So I get we're trying to contain it, we're trying to keep it in-house. I'm making a formal request to have legal outside of the Library Advisory Board take a peek at it, take a peek at the code, and give us an opinion. And these are recorded meetings, and I just want to go on record as saying that I have serious concerns about us potentially doing things that are breaking the code.
Has the book, the person who came to you, Doug, has that person made an official request for reconsideration and filled out the paperwork asking?
Well, they have. I mean, they can make a formal request, but to be honest with you, they're pretty interested to see if we're breaking the law, and they want to know what liability.
I understand that. I'm asking you a question if you know if they made the request.
I don't know for sure, but I don't believe they have, but I'm not 100% for sure. I was hoping they would be at the meeting tonight. I'm sad to see that they're not.
Thank you.
So if there was a request, would you know?
I should know.
Okay, so probably they did not make a
I
request.
have not been.
Okay. Is that what
I'll
that
take a
was?
look at code, and I will report back to the Library Advisory Board through
There's
the
a-
listserv.
There's a motion though.
Thank you.
Well, and seconded.
Yeah, so
Does that
it has to be
satisfy your
voted.
motion? Who's in favor of taking it to legal directly without waiting for the process?
Yeah, by skipping the process and not submitting the form, I don't know what legal will want to do, but I will find out.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Considering that it was the Library Advisory Board that created this process, I do think that a library advisory board member probably should go through the process of submitting their request for reconsideration and follow the board's own stated process. Because the library advisory board is actually on this document that is on the website that describes the collection development policy that was set by the board. So honoring the collection development policy, I think, would be appropriate.
Well, Madam Chair, may I speak?
We're in the middle of a vote, but I guess Barb raised a question, so go ahead, Doug.
Well, I don't think it's a question on whether or not she goes through the process. The question is, are we breaking the law currently, and we broke the law in the past? And if that's the case, I would think that the Library Advisory Board would be interested in knowing that, and certainly the folks who are running the library would want to know that. I don't know why we would drag our feet on something like this when we can just get a legal opinion quickly and figure out where we're at and go from there. That's my opinion on it, but it seems pretty clear to me that we're breaking the law by having that book available to anybody who's under 18 years of age. But again, I'm not an attorney, but I want to go on record as saying I'm very uncomfortable with not taking this book immediately to the experts who would, be able to untangle the situation and tell us where we sit legally. It doesn't seem like that difficult of a decision personally, but I understand there's a process there, but I don't understand how that pertains to this book. This is a hot topic right here. The Anchorage School District had an emergency meeting district-wide at 10 a.m. Friday. It's in the school board. It's an issue. And we're going to get caught up and tangled in this, and I'd like to see where we sit from a legal standpoint. I'm not asking for the book to be pulled. I'm just saying, with the decisions that have been made in the past, are we breaking the law? And I feel like maybe we are.
Well, as I understand it, no student at the Anchorage School District is able to check out that book. It's just for staff use only. Just to clarify
That's not my understanding. That's not my understanding. I think that book was in circulation.
Supported. I think I'm going to, I think we need to go through the process. I think somebody needs to make the reconsideration for the book. I think that's our due diligence. If there's a legal, a city attorney that wants to look at that, you've sent the email to them. I'm going to say nay.
I'll join Barbara in saying nay for some of the same reasons that Doug raises, actually. Because it's a hot topic and because we have a board-approved process